Welcome film festival fans, and thank you for clicking on my review for Triangle of Sadness. The Palme d'Or winner of this year's Cannes has made its way to the London Film Festival, and it is my first of many movie of the festival, where I was hoping it would be more akin to Force Majeure rather than The Square. I just wasn't that big a fan at all of Ruben Ostlund's last effort, and thankfully he had me hooting and hollering through this entire thing. What a blast Triangle of Sadness is, as we follow a couple of models, Carl and Yaya, into a luxury cruise where they suddenly find themselves surrounded by a rogues gallery of super rich passengers. At first, it's seemingly paradise and all appears Instagrammable, but the cruise ends catastrophically and the group find themselves marooned on a deserted island. This is one of the funniest movies of the year, where it absolutely rips into every societal class and social dynamic imaginable. The film takes a little bit into getting past the generic eat the rich satire, but everything from the second act onwards is an absolute hoot. That second act is so effective because it absolutely rips into everyone. It holds nothing back, it points the finger, and it deconstructs all the praiseworthy elements of any societal class, and it just brings out their faults and the lack of humanity in how we treat each other, but it does it in such entertaining, wildly imaginative ways that you just find it audacious. Like, oh, he went there, and he goes there constantly throughout the bulk of this film, particularly through that cruise, and the consequences that come of it just bring on the more laughs. And don't get me wrong, the first act is very necessary. It bounces back between Harris Dickinson and the unfortunately late great Sharply Dean, who play this couple of models who are so into their own self-perceived perfection, they fail to see any flaws with the way they look and the way they act towards one another. And as soon as the message is delivered with that dynamic, the film rapidly moves on to this cruise where everything goes wild. It is an absolute riot, filled with so many distinct personalities that you just don't forget, be it any of the crew, the captain, played by Woody Harrelson, and everyone just trying to make this cruise work for the rich and privileged. And the way it deconstructs this privilege, where it presents those living in abundance and how hard and fast they fall only to get drowned in their own shit, it is absolutely hilarious, guys. I couldn't stop laughing through the bulk of this second act, particularly in a dinner scene that just doesn't stop outdoing itself, and the performances are all wild. Harris Dickinson, who I found quite good in several films up until now, this is by far his best performance. And I'm not saying any other pretty boy couldn't take on this role, but he makes it his own as much as he can. And while the film doesn't necessarily reinvent the wheel when it comes to its messaging, it effectively updates it to a more complex class system, where the message begins as a generic eat the rich kind of commentary, but it evolves and twists itself around into a we eat each other if it's necessary kind of messaging. And the way Ruben Ostlund shifts these dynamics along the film, where these characters find themselves and how the power dynamics become so different as it progresses, and we see these super privileged, super high up their own arse in the way they think people get taken down so much and settle their feet on earth, is endlessly entertaining to watch, as one of the people who's part of the cleaning crew at one point completely takes over, and you are just there witnessing how pathetic some of these people can be in their most desperate hour. When the mask of perceived perfection gets taken off, who really are these people and what are they good for. And director Ruben Ostlund is not afraid of attacking everyone. Everyone from every class is present in this film, and as much as he can praise some of these people, some of the humanity they're present, it's how that humanity takes away when power comes into play, and how sometimes absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, as I said, the film starts in a generic place, and the further it goes along, the clunkier it gets with its messaging. The third act to me never fully clicked. It was just repeating the same messaging without adding anything new, any new layers to it. There's a great scene in the boat where Woody Harrelson's captain and one of the passengers are quoting one another about socialism and communism and capitalism, basically outdoing one another when it comes to who's further up their own arse, and that's the best scene in the film. And that's as deep as the commentary and satire go through the whole film, funny enough, before the ship ever gets taken down. After that, as we reach the island, and despite some really fun dynamics in there, some nice back and forth between characters we hadn't seen interact before, the politics of the film, the messaging just keeps getting clunkier and more superficial. It doesn't add anything new, it just keeps repeating what it did before, but to less effect when it comes to the potency of the message and when it comes to the laughs. I was giggling all through the island sequence, but just never full out laughing. Plus, the ending of the film really bothered me. It does not earn an ambiguous ending, with great needle drops all throughout, some classic bangers from the early 2000s. But the film really needed a clear ending where everything is so in your face that Ostlund is not trying to be subtle whatsoever in what he's trying to say with this film, and so I didn't feel like the film earned an ambiguous ending where it's open to interpretation. Like, that's not what he was doing, and kind of betrays everything he built up to up until that ending. But before we sink into my final thoughts on Triangle of Sadness, I need you to start the conversation about it in the comments below. What do you make of the Palme d'Or winner, and how do you rank Ruben Ostlund's films, if you've seen more than the 3 I have? And if you're enjoying this review, if you don't want to miss any LFF reviews, or if you just love movies and TV, this is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button down there, and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Triangle of Sadness stares down the ruling class with viciously scathing commentary to absurdly hilarious results in an unashamed deconstruction of social dynamics. The final act is absolutely overbearing, resulting in a film that very much overstays its welcome, but the overwhelming result is absolute pure hysteria. I'm giving Triangle of Sadness a B. And those are my thoughts on Triangle of Sadness. LFF is certainly off to a better start than the Venice Film Festival was, at least for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for many more LFF reviews to come very soon. And big thanks to my channel members for always supporting the channel. And I'll be back very soon with more. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.